no crowds for them at the Sydney Opera House. And if you look closely, they clearly expected crowds because you could see there the barricades were up. There were like fences up, waiting in anticipation. And there was nobody.
Yeah, you see nobody in there. Nobody's there for the oracles. There are a few really cringe moments.
For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have remained among the most heavily discussed public figures in the world. Every interview, every business move, every public appearance, and every rumor surrounding the couple quickly becomes global conversation. But recently, online speculation and media commentary surrounding Meghan have intensified once again. Questions about public image, questions about celebrity influence, questions about legal scrutiny, media narratives, and public perception. None of these rumors have been officially confirmed by authorities, but the growing attention surrounding them reveals something larger: the extraordinary level of scrutiny now surrounding Harry and Meghan in the modern media era. Because in today's world, public attention can escalate faster than ever before. Life under constant observation. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from official royal duties, many people assumed the couple would finally gain the privacy they had spoken about for years, but the reality turned out to be far more complicated. Because leaving the monarchy did not remove public attention. In many ways, it intensified it. Inside the royal family, public appearances are carefully structured. There are protocols, schedules, layers of institutional management designed to maintain consistency and protect the monarchy's image. But outside that structure, Harry and Meghan entered an entirely different world. A world driven by non-stop media cycles, social media commentary, streaming platforms, celebrity branding, and online speculation. Every move suddenly carried enormous visibility: where they traveled, what projects they announced, who they partnered with. Even seemingly ordinary moments became headline material. This transformation created a unique situation. Because Harry and Meghan were no longer functioning as traditional working royals, yet they remained among the most recognizable public figures in the world. That combination fascinated global audiences. To some people, the couple represented independence and reinvention. To others, they symbolized conflict with royal tradition. And because opinions became so deeply divided, every news story surrounding them immediately generated intense reaction. One interview could dominate international headlines for weeks. One public statement could spark millions of online discussions overnight. This level of attention creates an environment where visibility never truly fades. Instead, it becomes continuous, a constant cycle of observation, reaction, interpretation, and speculation. And unlike earlier generations of royals, Harry and Meghan exist inside a digital era where public narratives move faster than ever before. In previous decades, controversial stories eventually faded as new headlines emerged. But today, nothing fully disappears. Old interviews resurface, past comments are reanalyzed, moments from years earlier suddenly return to public discussion through viral clips and social media debates. This means public figures are not simply living in the present, they're constantly being pulled back into their own past. For Harry and Meghan, that reality has likely transformed everyday life in ways few people can truly imagine. Because when global attention becomes permanent, privacy itself starts to feel almost impossible. The internet age of rumors and speculation. The modern internet changed celebrity culture forever, but it changed royal coverage even more dramatically. In the past, information moved through newspapers, television broadcasts, and traditional journalism. Stories took time to develop. Facts were usually filtered through editors and established media structures before reaching the public. Today, that system barely exists in the same form. Now, information spreads instantly. A rumor posted online can reach millions of people within hours. A short video clip can trigger global debate before context is fully understood, and speculation often travels faster than verification. This environment creates a powerful cycle. The more emotional or dramatic a story appears, the faster it spreads. And because royal stories already carry built-in fascination, they thrive especially well within digital culture. People are naturally drawn to narratives involving power, status, family conflict, and hidden tension. The monarchy represents all of those things simultaneously. That is one reason why stories involving Meghan Markle attract such extraordinary attention online. Every rumor becomes magnified. Every headline becomes part of a larger global conversation, and once speculation begins circulating, it can quickly take on a life of its own. This does not necessarily mean the rumors are true, but in the digital age, public discussion often moves independently of confirmed facts. Perception becomes its own force. And social media algorithms intensify this effect even further. Platforms reward engagement, emotion, conflict. Strong reactions generate clicks, comments, and shares. As a result, the most dramatic interpretations often become the most visible ones. This creates an environment where nuance struggles to survive. Complex situations become simplified into viral narratives. Subtle details disappear beneath emotional headlines. And public figures become trapped inside stories they may have little ability to control. For Harry and Meghan, this digital landscape likely presents an ongoing challenge because the couple exists at the center of multiple overlapping worlds: royal tradition, celebrity culture, political discussion, social media commentary, global entertainment. Each of these worlds interprets them differently, and together, they create an endless stream of analysis and speculation. Why Meghan remains such a polarizing figure? Few public figures in recent years have inspired reactions as divided as Meghan Markle. To some audiences, Meghan represents modernity, independence, a challenge to centuries-old traditions. Supporters often view her as someone who entered one of the world's oldest institutions and struggled against intense pressure, scrutiny, and expectation. But critics see the story very differently. Some believe her arrival accelerated tensions within the royal family. Others argue that her public approach conflicted with traditional royal culture, and because these opinions are so emotionally charged, discussions about Meghan rarely remain neutral for long. Almost every story connected to her immediately divides audiences into opposing sides. This polarization is one reason why media coverage surrounding Meghan has remained so relentless. Stories involving her generate enormous engagement. Supporters passionately defend her. Critics analyze her every move. And media organizations understand that public interest in her remains exceptionally high. But polarization also creates distortion, because once audiences become emotionally invested in a narrative, they often begin interpreting new information through existing beliefs. Supporters may dismiss criticism automatically. Critics may assume negative intent even without evidence. And as this cycle intensifies, balanced discussion becomes increasingly difficult. The result is a public environment where Meghan is often viewed less as a person and more as a symbol onto which people project broader debates about monarchy, race, celebrity, feminism, media influence, tradition, and modern culture. This symbolic role dramatically increases scrutiny because people are no longer reacting only to Meghan herself. They are reacting to what they believe she represents. And that level of symbolic attention creates enormous pressure, particularly when every public action becomes interpreted through competing narratives. In many ways, this helps explain why stories involving Meghan continue dominating headlines years after major royal events occurred. Because public fascination is no longer focused only on individual moments. It is focused on the larger meaning people attach to her story itself. The pressure of public narrative. One of the most powerful forces in modern public life is narrative. Not necessarily truth, not necessarily fact, but narrative. The story people believe, the version of events that spreads fastest and settles into public perception. For public figures like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, this creates an incredibly difficult environment to navigate. Because once a narrative forms online, it becomes almost impossible to fully control. And in today's digital culture, narratives form with incredible speed. A single headline can shape millions of opinions before anyone reads beyond the title. A short video clip can circulate globally within hours, separated entirely from its original context. A rumor repeated often enough can begin to feel real to audiences, even when no verified evidence exists. This is the environment modern public figures now live inside, an environment where perception moves faster than clarification, and where emotional reactions often overpower careful analysis. For Harry and Meghan, this pressure has been especially intense because their story already contains elements that naturally attract public attention: royalty, family tension, celebrity culture, tradition versus modernity, personal freedom versus institutional duty. These themes create emotionally charged narratives almost automatically, and once audiences become emotionally invested in a story, every new event begins fitting into an existing framework. Supporters interpret events one way, critics interpret them another. Neutrality becomes increasingly rare. This creates enormous pressure on the individuals at the center of the narrative. Because public perception does not remain confined to headline, it affects reputation, relationships, professional opportunities, and even personal well-being. Every statement must be carefully considered, every appearance analyzed, every silence interpreted, and perhaps most exhausting of all, narratives rarely stay still. They evolve constantly. A story that appears minor one week can suddenly explode into major global discussion the next. Old moments resurface unexpectedly, Past interviews gain new meaning through changing public opinion, and social media ensures that almost nothing fully disappears. For Meghan in particular, this environment has often seemed especially relentless because she occupies a unique position within public culture. She is simultaneously viewed as a former actress, a royal figure, a celebrity, a media personality, and a symbol within larger cultural debates. As a result, narratives surrounding her frequently become larger than any single event itself. They become ongoing public conversations about identity, power, tradition, and media influence. And once someone becomes the center of that kind of symbolic attention, escaping public interpretation becomes almost impossible. The monarchy, celebrity, and media collision. The story of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is historically unusual because it represents the collision of two entirely different systems, the British monarchy and modern celebrity culture. At first glance, these worlds may appear similar. Both involve public attention. Both rely heavily on image. Both operate under constant media scrutiny. But beneath the surface, they function according to completely different rules. The monarchy is built around restraint, continuity, tradition. Its public image is carefully managed through structure and protocol developed over centuries. Individual expression is often secondary to institutional stability. Celebrity culture works differently. It rewards visibility, personality, direct engagement with audiences. Success within celebrity culture often depends on personal storytelling and emotional connection with the public. These differences created enormous tension once Meghan entered royal life. Because Meghan came from a Hollywood environment shaped by modern media expectations, an environment where interviews, branding, openness, and personal narrative are normal parts of public identity. The monarchy, however, traditionally operates through controlled distance. Royal figures rarely explain themselves publicly in emotional detail. They maintain formality, silence, restraint, and for decades, this distance helped preserve the mystique surrounding the institution. But modern audiences increasingly expect something different. They expect authenticity, accessibility, personal transparency. This cultural shift placed Harry and Meghan directly at the center of a larger transformation happening around the monarchy itself. A transformation involving how royal figures communicate in the digital era, how much of their personal lives become public, and whether centuries-old traditions can fully adapt to modern celebrity culture. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from official royal duties, that tension did not disappear. If anything, it intensified. Because outside the royal structure, the couple entered a world driven even more heavily by media visibility and public branding. Streaming deals, documentaries, interviews, public speaking, commercial partnerships, all of these placed them deeper inside modern celebrity culture than any senior royals before them. And this created a fascinating contradiction. Even after leaving official royal duties, Harry and Meghan remained deeply connected to royal identity in the public imagination. Their titles, their history, their relationship to the monarchy continued shaping how audiences viewed them, so the couple existed in two worlds simultaneously. No longer traditional working royals, yet still permanently associated with royalty. This unique position explains why stories surrounding them continue generating such extraordinary attention. Because audiences are not simply watching celebrities, and they are not simply watching royalty, they are watching the intersection of both worlds collide in real time. Why scrutiny never seems to end. Ordinary celebrity controversies often fade over time. Royal stories rarely do. Because royalty represents continuity, history, and symbolism, every new controversy becomes connected to larger public debates about tradition, power, media influence, and institutional change. This is one reason stories surrounding Harry and Meghan continue dominating headlines years after their royal exit. Public curiosity and the search for hidden truths. Royal audiences have always been fascinated by the idea that there are unseen stories behind public appearances, private tensions behind official smiles, secret conflicts behind palace walls. The digital age amplified this fascination dramatically. Now, millions of people participate in real-time speculation simultaneously, and this creates an endless cycle of interpretation and rumor. The emotional toll of constant visibility. Living under non-stop global attention carries enormous emotional pressure. Every statement becomes analysis, every silence becomes speculation, and every public appearance becomes part of a larger narrative shaped by millions of outside voices. This environment affects not only public image, but personal life itself. Royal narratives in the digital era. The monarchy has survived centuries of change, but modern digital culture created a challenge unlike any before it. Information spreads instantly. speculation becomes global within minutes, and institutions built on patience and tradition now exist inside a non-stop online news cycle. This has fundamentally changed how royal stories evolve. A story about scrutiny, more than scandal. In the end, stories like these often reveal less about confirmed scandal and more about the extraordinary level of scrutiny surrounding modern public figures, particularly those connected to royalty, because in today's media environment, visibility itself creates pressure. And few people in the world experience that pressure more intensely than Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Their story continues to fascinate global audiences not simply because of controversy, but because it sits at the intersection of royalty, celebrity, media power, and modern public life.